This story time is from a follower, and she just wants advice. To keep our identity a secret, she said she'd like me to call her Trinity. By the way, she's 16, and please do not judge her. So Trinity has two friends, which we're calling Abby and Josh. They've been friends since elementary, and now they're in high school together, and they're all like best friends. Abby had always had a crush on Josh and would tell Trinity, and Trinity always kept the secret. Over this past summer, Trinity started to like Josh also, and she could sense he was starting to like her too. They lived close together, and she started to notice how cute Josh became. And once, Josh had kissed her. She told me it was an accident. I don't know. Now that they're all entering back into school, she doesn't know what to tell Abby. She knows Abby liked Josh, and if she ever found out, she'd never talk to her ever again. She's torn between the two because she feels like building a good relationship with Josh that she loves, but then again, she feels like she's betraying her best friend. She said that she needs advice and she doesn't know what to do. This is part 2 of Kat's story time. After she gets a DM of a girl claiming to be Mike's baby's mother, she immediately texts Mike and asks who she was. Mike responded that she's a family of a friend and that they don't talk no more. He went on about her being crazy for a good hour and why he stays away from her. Kat's still suspicious, so she DMs the girl asking for her number to talk more. Within the first 5 minutes of talking, she has a baby crying in the background. She asks who that was and the girl FaceTimed her. And remember how Kat saw pictures of a baby on Mike's Instagram page? Well, which he claimed to be his sister? That was the same baby crying in the background of the FaceTime. Kat heart immediately drops because she wanted to believe what Mike was saying was true, but she had an instinct that there was something that he wasn't telling her. Throughout the conversation, Mike's child's mother, she said they were still messing around, and it was around the same time her and Mike was still together. At the end, she broke up with Mike, and she left out with a broken heart. Hello, everyone. This story time is from a follower of mine. She said she liked my story times and wanted to know if I could tell her story time. So here we go. We're calling her Kat because she wanted to stay anonymous, and by the way, she's 17. So last year, Kat was talking to this guy she met through Tinder, which we're calling Mike. Mike seemed like a pretty cool guy, and they talked for 2 months. She followed his Instagram and saw pictures of a baby. She asked who's the child, and he told her his little sister. So she didn't think nothing of it. They went out on dates, and after 6 months of talking, they made their relationship official. She would post him, but he never posted her. One day, she begged him to post her. And finally, he did, but he deleted it after 1 hour. Mike told her there were a lot of men liking and commenting on the picture, and he didn't want her to be a sexual object to them. She believed him, thought it was heroic, and just left the whole situation alone. But the next day, she received a message from a girl asking if she was talking to Mike. Kat said yes, and the girl responds that she's his child's mother. Everyone has been consistently, every video, y'all comment part 4. And y'all talking about the whole Emily situation. I will not be making a part 4. Simply because nothing really special happened after that. Like, I completely stopped talking to her afterwards. And then a year later, the next summer, we became friends. Another mistake. I mean, I'll still have more story times, like, about other things and other situations. But that particular event of the whole DMing the man and everything, that's how it ended. We just didn't talk. But yeah, I gotta stop commenting that now. Part 2 of my toxic best friend story time. Okay, so this might sound all confusing, but try and keep up with me, okay? So after the whole fight had happened, part of me just felt dumb because I didn't know what actually happened. And I didn't know exactly what was said. So almost 2 weeks went by and I saw Daisy outside. And one day, I just went up and just straight up asked Daisy, what exactly did she say to me about Emily? She said the day her and Emily was hanging out, Emily was talking to her about our problems that we were having in our friendship. Daisy then said that Emily said to her, don't Ayana just annoy you? And she said she guessed so. But overall, Emily was just basically fishing for Daisy to say something bad about me. When in reality, Daisy wasn't paying me no mind. I then go to Emily and told her what Daisy had told me. She laughs, and I'm just sitting here all confused. You're not going to even believe what she told me. She says, I was bored and the block was dry, and that it was just a joke. At the time, I don't know why I let it slide, but now that I think of it, that's crazy how she was able to play with my emotions like a toy. And that's not a friend. Here's another toxic best friend story time. Okay, my best friend at the time, which we're calling Emily, had set me up in a fight. Okay, so summertime of 2015, there were new girls that moved into our neighborhood. They were sisters. One of the sisters was a little weird, but she was an innocent girl, which we're calling Daisy. My friend Emily, from the start of meeting her, did not like Daisy at all. And that's how Emily was. She never really liked people or any new friends to our friend group. One day, out of nowhere, she hangs out with Daisy, which was kind of strange because she always told me she didn't like her. I ignored it. The next day, she hangs out with me and tells me that Daisy was talking crap about me. When Emily told me, I brushed it off. But then she told me if I didn't confront her, I'd look weak and a punk. So me wanting to prove that I wasn't weak, I confronted Daisy. Guys, we fought, and guess what? Daisy never talked crap about me. Emily's manipulative self planned it all out, and let me tell you exactly how she Part 3 of my toxic best friend. So after I met up with Emily to confront her about giving this man my address, she tries to act as though it's not that serious. So after I dragged her down the stairs, and from there we started to get into it. I guess her grandma heard everything from inside because she came running outside to stop it. Once she breaks it up, she asks, "Why are you two fighting? And that's not what sisters are supposed to do." Emily says, "I don't know, she just came here and started with me." Her grandma looks at me like, "Wow, I'm really disappointed in you. Especially because I thought you were one of the good ones around here." My face dropped because Emily never explained truly why I came up here, and her grandma was just ready to take her side. I was going to stay quiet and not say nothing because I know her parents are really strict, but I was done protecting her. So I told her grandma everything, even things that had nothing to do with the situation. I was so upset. But after the whole situation was over, I didn't talk to her for almost a year. Then that next summer, I don't know, Part 2 of my toxic best friend story time. So after I saw that she gave this strange man my address and set up to meet with him, I immediately wrote, "Hi, I'm a catfish," and blocked him. I changed my password so she couldn't get into my Instagram account anymore. And guys, I was so upset that I ran to her house. And usually it takes me 10 minutes to walk to her house, but that day it only took me 3. I banged so hard on her door, her mom answered and came out and said, "Why are you banging on my door so hard?" I said I apologized for banging so hard and that if I could ask to speak to Emily. She tells me she's at her grandma's house, which was only 2 blocks away. So I went to her grandma's house, and this time I knocked, she answered. I immediately yelled, "Why the hell would you use my page to tell this man where I live?" She tried to gaslight me, which at the time I didn't know that's what it was. She was basically trying to tell me it wasn't a big deal and that she was going to split half the money with me. I laughed and dragged her down the stairs. There's more to the story, so sorry guys. Here's another toxic best friend story time. When I was in middle school, my Instagram page started to grow, and it was only because I used to post a lot of dance videos. My toxic best friend at the time, which we're calling Emily, noticed my page was starting to grow, and she had my Instagram page on her phone, and same thing with her. I had her Instagram page on my phone, but I would never go through her page. When it came to my page, she would notice that I would get a lot of DMs from random guys, sugar daddies, that type of thing. Those men that would pay you for your services, if you know what I mean. And this one day, she actually responded back to one of them. And I had no clue until later that day. She was sending naked pictures back, not of me, but random stuff she found on the internet. And one of the dudes she was actually talking to wanted to meet up. And guys, she gave him my address. By the time I checked my phone, they had a whole plan to link up. There's more to the story, like for part 2.
Picture this, you spend hundreds if not thousands of dollars on a luxury villa in a private island. You are promised to be flown in on a private jet, have top chefs make your food, see some of the best artists in the world. Seemingly on social media, big influencers might be there, such as Hailey Bieber, Kendall Jenner. But instead, what you spent thousands of dollars on was chaos. You are stuck on an island in an abandoned construction site with 5,000 other people, unable to find your luggage, fighting for people over wet mattresses, and unsure of when you're going to be able to go home. Oh yes, and this is your Top Chef food, by the way. This was literally supposed to be the greatest music festival of all time, and instead ended up being one of the biggest scams of all time. So how exactly did we get here? Billy McFarland, who happened to be a young entrepreneur, along with his friend Ja Rule, the rapper, were flying whenever they came across a private island. This island, called Norman's Key, was previously owned by Pablo Escobar, the drug lord. Part 2 to Fire Festival. According to the FBI, Billy had everyone fooled. He wasn't necessarily a serial entrepreneur, he was a serial scammer. And this provided to be his biggest one. After seeing this island, he wanted to host a music festival that was straight out of a dream. Festivals usually take about 12 months to plan. Billy thought that he could put it together in 8 weeks. He started by gathering all the top influencers, Hailey Bieber, Bella Hadid, and put them together for a massive promotional video. He had other big influencers such as Kendall Jenner post an orange tile to their Instagram to give the impression that they were going, even though they weren't and they were paid like $200 grand to post this. This caused a significant amount of hype. It was all over social media. The news was covering it, articles were being written. So whenever tickets came out, it was sold out to 5,000 people immediately. People spending extra for nicer beachfront 8-person villas. While the island's one request to Billy was that he doesn't bring up that it's Pablo Escobar's island. And what does he do within the first promo? Says that this island was previously owned by Pablo Escobar. So he was kicked off that day and had to go somewhere else. Part 3 to Fire Festival. Even though he had to go somewhere else due to all the hype, he was getting in major deals. Major Lazer, Pusha T, Blink-182, and Billy had involved so many investors into this that there was no way that he could back out because he used the money from the investors on the project. He ends up flying around until he finds the island of Great Exuma, which is not a private island. However, on the website, they edit it to make it look like it is. And they find an abandoned development site. No buildings, no villas. Yet they still advertise as if there are. They end up finding tents left over from Hurricane Michael and say, yup, this is good enough. So the production team is extremely worried and they're like, hey, we're gonna have to post pictures of what this looks like so people can decide if they want to come or not. Billy responds by just firing them. Somehow he thought people were just going to show up and be okay with this after spending all that money. And to get more money, they implemented cashless wristbands. Like asking people who already paid to send them extra money for their wristband. While people are concerned and asking questions on their social media, but they turn off their comments. Soon it was time for people to show